States of America. Stand right there. Isn't it great to have a cheese around the world? Thank you all for coming out. You know, it's such a thrill for me and for my family. Tonette was just in surgery a couple days ago, but she wanted to be here tonight, so Tonette and my family are here, just like families all across the state, to support the next first family and the next vice president's family, the Romney and the Ryan families. Let's give them a warm welcome. Our next first lady, Ann Romney, Jared Ryan, and Paul and Jana's beautiful kids. You know, Mitt and Paul are going to be out in just a moment. They're ready to go, so I'm going to be real brief. On June 5th, we stood on this ground and claimed a victory, not for a candidate, but for the taxpayers of the great state of Wisconsin. On November 6th, we're going to claim the victory, not just for Wisconsin, but for hard-working taxpayers all across America with your help. Mitt Romney showed us yesterday, Governor Mitt Romney showed us that he is not only experienced to lead this country, he has the courage to lead this country. He made a big and a bold decision. It's not just big for Wisconsin, it is a great day for all of America because Paul Ryan will be a great vice president. Think about it. Think about it. Mitt Romney has exactly the experience we need to turn America around. This is a guy who, in the private sector, and a lot of people in the media try to make excuses about this. This is a leader in the private sector who stood up and turned companies around, and there are thousands of people working today because of his leadership in the private sector. That's where we make jobs, not in government. And then a decade ago, you know, tonight's the last night of the Olympics. I don't know about you, but I've been watching the Olympics for the last week and a half, and it's been spectacular. But remember, a decade ago, in 2002, we nearly had a global embarrassment, an embarrassment for the United States. But Mitt Romney came in and saved the day and almost single-handedly turned those Olympics around. We have a leader who can turn things around in the private sector. He turned things around in the Olympics. He can turn things around for America. And then as governor, people forget this, but remember the big day? It was a huge disaster in Boston, a federal government disaster. Mitt Romney literally took off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, got to work like a great leader does, and he turned that mess around. If he can do it in government at the state level, if he can do it in the private sector, if he can do it for the Olympics, he can turn America around. He's got the courage and the experience to be the next president of the United States.
It's good to be home. I tell you, I love Wisconsin. I see my family over here. That's this half of the stadium. I got a lot of family. I tell you what. I love you too, man. I'm fifth generation from this state. My families came here back in the 1800s, made a go of it. It's where we've all raised our families ever since. This is such a phenomenal place to live, to work, to raise your family. summers up at our grandparents at Lake Winnebago, up in Vilas County. I think about deer camp over in Fairchild in Eau Claire County. Jana, our daughter Liza, our son Charlie and Sam. We live on the block I grew up on, with about 10 other Ryan families within about 8 blocks of our home. My veins run with cheese, bratwurst, and a little spotted cow lice and some more. I was raised in the Packers, Badgers, Bucks, and Brewers. I like to hunt here. I like to fish here. I like to snowmobile here. I even think ice fishing is interesting. I'm a Wisconsinite through and through, and I just got to tell you how this means to be home. I also just want to say a great thanks to my friend, Scott Walker. And my friend Ryan Priebus. And Ron Johnson. We're just guys from Tosa, Kenosha, Oshkosh, and Janesville. And what we learned in this state just a little while ago is that we want to elect men and women who run for office and tell us who they really are, what they really believe, what they're really going to do, and then when they get elected, they do that. That's what we do here in Wisconsin. We've seen a few elections in Wisconsin lately. We're ready. We're tested. We put these ideas out there. We implemented it. Our leaders fixed the problems in Madison. And we as voters said, keep doing it. On June the 5th, courage was on the ballot in Wisconsin, and courage won. We Wisconsinites, we saved Wisconsin that day, and on November the 6th, we Wisconsinites will help save America that day. Friends, I see so many familiar faces in this audience. It's just amazing. We are all family, brother. And that wasn't my brother who said that. We have a very critical decision to make in this country. We are at that proverbial fork in the road in America. The president came into office with so much hope, offering so much change. He got the power he wanted. He got his party in control. He passed almost every item on his agenda. It's law now. And now we're seeing the results. A country with a healthcare system that's about to be taken over. A country with 4 years of trillion-dollar deficits. A country in economic stagnation. The worst economic recovery in 70 years. The largest deficits in the biggest government since World War II. Nearly 1 in 6 Americans are in poverty today. It's the highest rate in a generation. You know what? We're not going to take that. We're going to turn this thing around. can do this. We can turn this around. We can get this economy turned around. We can get people back to work. And most importantly, I look at my kids. Sam, I'm over here. I look at my kids. It's been a long day for them. I look at my kids, and I want them to have the kind of future that I had. That's what my dad always told me. In this country, every generation fixes their problems, makes things better, and leaves their kids better off. It is our duty to save the American dream for our children. So we have a big choice to make. And if we look at the path that we are on, if we look at all the things that the president's been doing, more government, more regulations, the promise of a lot more taxes on successful small businesses. We see a president who took what we pioneered here in Wisconsin, Tommy Thompson, welfare reform, getting people off of welfare back to work into lives of dignity, personal responsibility, onto a life of hitting their potential. If this president is going to do these kinds of things in a very difficult, tough election year, imagine what he would do if he never has to face the voters ever again. You know what? We're not going to find out. So here's our choice. We can either stick with the politics of the past, with dividing, with distorting, with distracting. We can put ourselves on the path toward a welfare state with a debt crisis, where we now see the government's role as not promoting equal opportunity and protecting our natural rights, but giving us new government-granted rights, putting the government in charge, running our society, driving our economy, picking winners and losers, equalizing the outcomes. This country is so special. The state is so special. It's so special because it's the only country founded on an idea. It's very special. And that idea, in a nutshell, is in the Declaration of Independence. Our rights come from nature and God, not from government. So here's our choice. Do we want that opportunity society with a safety net, the land of upward mobility, where people can make the most of their lives, where they can get ahead? Or do we want to go down the path of debt, doubt, and despair? Do we want to copy Europe? No. It's going to take leadership. It's going to take courage. It's going to take another election, just like we had in 2010, to get this right. And when we do, we will look back at this moment in 2013 as the day our generation fixed it, so the American idea was turned back on and our children had a brighter future. As you now know, I've spent some time with this man lately. We need a man of integrity. We need a leader of principle. We need somebody who has a bedrock of principles, a moral compass, a vision for the country, and the experience, the expertise to put that vision into place. Those are the things that describe this man, Mitt Romney. When you see how this man, how warm he is to his family, to his associates, when you see the successes he's achieved, raising a beautiful family, working hard, creating small businesses, turning around struggling businesses, creating jobs, this is a person who has a life experience, who knows that if you have a small business, you did build that. This is a man who, when the Olympics were struggling, when it was failing, the country called him to serve and revive it, and he made us all proud by running the Olympics and saving it. This is a man who, as governor, worked across the aisle, got things done, balanced the budget without raising taxes, increased employment, increased the credit rating, and increased household incomes by providing leadership. This is a special moment for us, our family, for all of us, because we are all family. This is it. This is the election. We owe you, our fellow citizens, the choice. So you get to decide what kind of country do you want to have? What kind of people do we want to be? We want to have the kind of an election where we earn your support. Where we win an election because you said, go fix the mess in Washington. So when we win this election, we go fix this mess in Washington. This is an exceptional nation. This is the greatest idea. There is no other system that has done more to help the poor, to help spread opportunity, to help people rise up and make something of their lives than the American system of freedom and free enterprise. We have a leader here who understands that, who more importantly knows how to deliver that. That is our contract with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do this. We're going to turn these things around. Guess what? This man, his name is Mitt Romney, and he's going to be the next president of the United States of America. Thank you. Paul. Jim. What a welcome. What a welcome and what a homecoming for a terrific guy. My goodness. I guess you think I made the right decision, the right choice? I know I did. This is our second day of the campaign trail together. This is another big step to restore the promise of America. People ask me why I chose Paul Ryan. The answer is I wanted someone who was a leader. Leadership comes from character. This is a man who has real character, who loves America, who has passion for America, who understands what it takes to get America on the right track. And this leader is going to help get America strong. Now I know when most people go to Washington, D.C., they go filled with ambition. He had a different career in mind when he was thinking of running for office, and yet he decided that America needed to have someone who would go to Washington not thinking about how he could beat up on other people and throw brickbats at them, but instead someone who would go there to make a real difference. And this is a man who recognizes that people who have differences of opinion, if they're honest, those differences can also be honest. And so he reached across the aisle. He worked with people in the Democratic Party. He did so with dignity and respect. And as a result, he's a man who in Washington is liked, is recognized, is acknowledged, is admired, is seen as an intellectual leader, and he is respected. As Vice President of the United States, this man will be respected by people across the nation and across the world. This is a critical time for the country. You're here tonight to celebrate the selection of an extraordinary guy to be our nominee for Vice President. But you also know this is a time of great seriousness for the nation. We have 23 million people
out of work. 23 million people. You see, young man, this group here is respectful of other people's rights to be heard. And you want to find yourself a different place to be disruptive, because here we believe in listening to people with dignity and respect. Look, there's no question but that if you follow the campaign of Barack Obama, he's going to do everything in his power to make this the lowest, meanest, negative campaign in history. We're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a campaign about ideas, about the future of America. This is a campaign about greatness, about America's future for your children, for the world. Mr. President, take your campaign out of the gutter. Let's talk about the real issues that America faces. Is struggling right now. Incomes have dropped by $4,000 per family under this president. Healthcare premiums have gone up by $2,500. Utility costs are up. Gasoline prices are up. People are having a hard time. They want to know if America's going to come back. It is, if it gets new leadership. I'm going to do 5 things. Paul Ryan and I, we're going to work together to get 5 things done that'll get our economy roaring back. Number 1, we're going to take advantage of our energy resources, our wind, solar, as well as nuclear, oil, gas, coal. Number 2, we're going to make sure that our kids and our workers have the skills they need to succeed. And by the way, we're going to put work back into welfare. Number 3, we're going to have trade that works for America, and that means we're going to open up new markets for our goods, but it means when people cheat like China has, there will be consequences. Number 4, we're going to do something that Paul has been fighting to do for years now. When we have Republicans in the House and Senate, when we have the White House, we're going to finally cut federal spending, stop the borrowing, and get America on track to a balanced budget. And number 5, we're going to champion small business. We're going to help small businesses grow and thrive. I couldn't believe it the other day when I saw that quote that Paul just mentioned of the president's in Virginia. I couldn't believe he actually said that. You heard what he said. If you have a business, you didn't build it, someone else did that. And then he said, it's not fair, you took me out of context. Go on YouTube, by the way, and read the context, and you'll find the context is worse than the quote. He says in there, you know, if you've been successful, why, you may think it's because you're smart, but there are a lot of smart people. And you may think it's because you're working hard, but there are a lot of people who work hard. I couldn't figure out where he's going with this, because, you see, in this country, we welcome and celebrate people who reach, who dream, who aspire, who achieve. That's the nature of how America works. When the guy or gal comes home from the factory and says, you know what, I took that class at the community college, I got some more skills, I just got a promotion. We celebrate that. We acknowledge what they accomplished. When the kid comes home and says, I made the honor roll, and we know how hard they worked, we say, we celebrate that child's achievement. We say, way to go, you made that happen. Now I know that for them to make the honor roll, they had to ride on a bus to get to school, and there was a bus driver, but if the kid gets the honor roll, he or she gets the credit, not the bus driver. This country's We do those 5 things with real leadership, and you're going to see America's economy come back and create great jobs, more take-home pay. You're going to be convinced that the future's brighter for your children than even what we've enjoyed. And I know that because I've seen the spirit of America across this land. One thing that gives me perhaps the greatest confidence in our future is that there lies within the heart of the American people, Republican, Democrat, Independent, men and women, people from cities or the suburbs or rural communities. There lies in our heart a patriotism and a conviction that America is an exceptional nation and a great nation. Ann leaned over to me as Paul was speaking. We were all moved, by the way, at the welcome you gave him. We were touched, and tears filled my eyes. I looked at Ann, tears were in her eyes, and I know Paul, Jana felt the same way. You guys are just amazing. I'm not sure about the kids, but the rest of us felt pretty emotional. And I just thought back to a time when I understood one more time just how deep the passion is for this country. And this was at the end of another Olympics. You see, we're just ending the London Olympics. The games have been spectacular to watch. Hopefully you've had the chance to see some of those athletes, their courage and determination. At the end of our games in 2002, I invited a young man to come in and sit with Vice President Cheney to represent all the athletes of America. And I chose a young fella named Derek Parra. Derek's about 5'4", born in Los Angeles, Hispanic American. And he was a rollerblader in Los Angeles. And his friends said to him, you know, if you ever want to get in the Olympics, you got to pick up another sport. There's no rollerblading in the Olympics. And so he tried on ice skates and went to the local skating club, and he was fast. I guess the rollerblading translates pretty well. This guy skates his heart out, trains and trains, ends up beating a lot of big fellas, I'm sure, from Michigan, where I came from, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Becomes a member of the United States speed skating team, long track. Bonnie Blair, boy, isn't she the best. Anyway, he's long track, though, and so he comes out to Salt Lake City, skates his heart out. 5,000 meters, he gets the silver medal. 1,500 meters, he gets the gold medal. Fastest man on earth on skates. And so I invited him to sit with the Vice President. And as he came in, I said, Derek, what was the most meaningful experience in your Olympic Games? And he said, carrying in the flag that had flown above the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001 in the opening ceremonies. He was one of the 8 athletes that was selected to carry that flag. It's about 8 by 12 feet, and it's torn and burned. And it can't be put up a flagpole, so you got to bring it in horizontally. So he carried it in, and he said, as we brought it into the stadium, some 55,000 people, we expected that when it was announced, they'd burst into cheers, but instead, total silence, complete reverence. And he said, we carried the flag and stopped in front of the choir, and they began performing the national anthem. And he said, Mitt, it was hard to hold on to my emotion as they were singing those words, and I was holding that flag. And then he said, the choir did something I hadn't expected. Now I knew it was coming because I was the guy in charge of the Olympics, and I picked the version of the national anthem they sang. And it was an old 1930s version by Robert Shaw, where you repeat the second line, or the last line rather, you repeat it as a reprise. The sopranos go up an octave, much greater orchestration. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And he said this time as they sang it, a gust of wind blew in the flag and lifted it in their hands. And he said, for me it was as if the spirits of all those that had fought and died for American liberty had just blown to that flag. And he said, tears began to run down my face. And as he just told me that story, tears filled my eyes. We love this country. We know it's an exceptional land. We understand that when the founders wrote those words that said that the Creator endowed us with our rights, that they were right. That among those rights are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. We're a nation given those freedoms. We share them with people around the world. This is the greatest nation the world has seen, in part because of that extraordinary beginning, that idea, as Paul said. We are not going to change America into something we don't recognize. We're going to restore to America the principles that made America the hope of the earth. We're going to do everything in our power to keep America strong in our homes, in our economy, in our military, second to none. This nation has a mission to perform. We're going to make it happen. We're going to keep America the shining city of the hill. You're going to help us win the White House in November. We're counting on Wisconsin.